We're now up to Daf Lamed Tes Amud Beis. Isti Amri. We're going back to the Machlokas Rabbi Yochanan and Rabbi Shub ben Levi with a new interpretation of the second Lishna. Bibia, if the younger brother wants to be miyabin and the older brother wants to give chalitza, kuliyavalo pligi the bias katan adifa. Both Rabbi Yochanan and Rabbi Shub ben Levi concede and agree that bias katan comes before chalitza's gadol, because bia, meaning yibum, is first. That's the ikar mitzvah. Ki pligi bechalitzas katan. The machlokas is if the younger brother wants to do chalitza. V'hochi yitmar chalitzas katan v'chalitzas gadol. Pligi ba Rabbi Yochanan, Rabbi Shub ben Levi chanomer chalitzas gadol adifa. If there are two brothers who are vying, so to speak, for chalitza, we give first dibs, according to this view, to the gadol, the older brother. There's no din of what we call adifus or kedima. Chalitzas hagadol is no superior to chalitzas hakatan. It's all the same. Mandi Amar chalitzas gadol adifa to a mitzvah begadol. According to one Mandi Amar, the mitzvah is choose between yibum and chalitza, but chalitza is also a mitzvah, and therefore the gadol should do the chalitza. Either according to the other Meikvin, Kia mean a mitzvah gadol, that's as far as the mitzvah of yibum. That's a real bona fide mitzvah. And the gadol is indicated by the Torah v'haya b'char sheteled. Avalinyan chalitza ka'adadinin. Once we have dropped the mitzvah, we dropped the ball, so to speak, on the mitzvah of yibum, then it makes no difference who does the chalitza. Tanan, we have now a Mishnah, lo rotz. Let's say the other brothers are not interested. We'll see what that means in a minute. Choser neitzal gadol. We go back to the oldest of the brothers. My love, says the Gemara, what does the Mishnah mean? Lo rotzu liyamim elachlots. The brothers, the younger brothers, are not interested in yibum. They want to give chalitza. And yet, Ketani, the Mishnah says, Chosrin Eitzel Gadol. We give first dibs to the Gadol, the oldest brother. He's the one who'll do chalitza. V'shmamina, chalitza's Gadol adifa. And the Gemara rejects it. Lo. You cannot ask a kasha from this Mishnah on the Mandiyama who says chalitzasan shavet. Lo rotzu, lo lachlos, v'lo liyab. The Mishnah has in mind where the other brothers are not interested neither in chalitza nor in yibum. And therefore we go back to the gadol. If on the other hand they were interested in chalitza, then so zayin gesund and stark, tovel and bracha, let them do chalitza. It doesn't go back to the older brother. The Gemara asks, if you're going to be consistent in your interpretation of the two words lo ratzu, that lo ratzu means they weren't interested neither in yibum nor in chalitza, the kavase, what are you going to do in a parallel way to maintain the consistency of that interpretation of lo ratzu, when the Mishnah says gabi gadol, it says lo ratzu. If the gadol is not interested, mahalchin eitzel ha'achim lo ratza, according to your understanding, means lo lachlotz the lo liyamim. So that means that in this particular scenario, neither the gadol nor the other brothers are interested in chalitza or in yibum. Elamai, but let's clarify this. If there are no brothers who are interested, chosrin eitzel gadol lemichviyeh. We go back to, and Bezdin will go back to the gadol ha'achim, and they will coerce him to either be miyabim or to give chalitza. So why are we bothering the Bezdin and imposing incumbent upon them is to run around from the Achim back to the Gadol? Once Bezdin asks the other brothers, let him continue and say, look, if you're not interested in Yibum or Chalitza, Lichvei B'Didu, let's force you to choose one or the other. Why are we going back to the Gadol? Why are we imposing such a responsibility on the Bezdin? And the Gemara answers, came in the mitzvah lady day Ramya. The Ikar mitzvah Yibum is incumbent upon the Achad Gadol, the oldest brother, and the younger brothers are refusing to fulfill that mitzvah of Yibum. So Bezdin has to force Lididei Kaifina. Who are they going to choose to force? They're going to go back to the Gadol, who's obligated in the mitzvah of Yibum on a primary basis, and force him to either do Yibum or Chalitza. We're not going to force the other brothers. We're going to go back to him. And then we have a separate issue. If both the Achim and the Gadol, the oldest, want to do Chalitza, what do we do in that case? Toshma, the Gemara now is going to ask a kasha on that opinion that holds that the Chalitza of the Gadol is Adifa. Now, if the Gadol Sheba Achim, who are here, who is here, I should say, and he's not interested neither in Chalitza and Yibum, V'tola, and he justifies his position by saying to Bezdin, the Gadol, my older brother, is out there in the seven seas. Let's wait until he comes back and he returns home from the trip. Maybe he'll give Chalitza. We're not going to listen to him. He has to do one of two things, either Chalitza or Yibum. Why aren't we listening to him? He's putting forward a very strong argument. If you have a choice between one of the Ketanim to do Chalitza or the Gadol to do Chalitza, you're saying we give the Gadol, so why not wait for this Gadol who's out there in Medina Sayyam? Nintar, we should wait for him. Dilma Asi v'Chalitz, hopefully he'll agree to do Chalitza. And we must assume, therefore, that Chalitzas HaGadol is not superior to the Chalifat Sakata, because we're not in the midst of Yibum now, we're just doing Chalitza. So the Gemara rejects this. The Gemara says, according to your opinion, that all Chalitzas are equal in the eyes of the law, even that of the Gadol is not superior to that of a Gadol. If there's a possibility of doing a mitzvah in the best way possible, we should wait. And therefore, why does the Mishnah say that if he doesn't want to do Chalitza and he justifies himself when he says he doesn't want to do it, B'Katan, and he says, let's wait for the Katan, who's literally a Katan, he's less than Bar Mitzvah, Ad Sheyagdil, and then he'll be able to do Yibum. That's a good argument. And the Mishnah says, Ein Shomilo. We're going to compel him to either give Yibum or give Chalitza. So the Gemara asks, why don't we listen to Nintar Dilma Godil Umiyabim? Why don't we wait until the child grows older and maybe he'll be interested in Yibum? He'll agree, he'll consent to do Yibum. And everybody agrees that Yibum is superior, even in the case of a Katan, to Chalitza. So why don't we wait for him? Now, I would have said the reason why we don't wait for him is because Nebuch, this Yevamot is now incarcerated. We're holding up but she's an agun almost. Ella, says the Gemara, the reason why we don't wait for the Katan, become older is called Shehuye Mitzvah Lo Shahinon. Now, I'm not sure if that's a general universal principle in all mitzvahs, probably mitzvah bol yochal tachlit, or it has a specific application to the case of Eden because she's waiting desperately for either Yibum or Chalitza. So in any event, when it's possible to fulfill the mitzvah now, albeit in a less than perfect way, and the other option is to wait and delay the mitzvah to fulfill it in a more optional way, we don't delay the mitzvah. You can fulfill the mitzvah now in its basic nitty-gritty state and fulfill the mitzvah. We're not going to wait and delay the mitzvah. Ein mashin kiyum mitzvah. It's not a hustle. Now the Gemara deals with the question of mitzvahs chalitza kodemes lemitzvahs yibum. And we have a Mishnah in Masechet Bechoros on Daf Yud Gimel, mitzvahs yibum kodemes lemitzvahs chalitza. All things are equal, go for yibum. That's the perfect ideal mitzvah. For Rishona, the Mishnah says that originally in the old days, the earlier days, they were not motivated to do yibum for any other reason other than l'shem mitzvah, and therefore mitzvahs yibum kodemes mitzvahs chalitza. But achshav she'ein miskavne l'shem mitzvah, and we'll see a whole list of motivations why he wants this yibum to happen, but not for the mitzvah. Is achshav. Therefore, Amru, the Chacham said, mitzvahs chalitza kodemes mitzvahs yibum. We'd rather have chalitza than yibum. Omar Rav, even though the Chachamim have said that now chalitza is a better idea than yibum, what happens, says Rav, if nevertheless the Yomi and the Yevamot both come and they say they want to be Mekayim the mitzvah? Ain't kofin. Not going to force them to do chalitza and to desist from yibum, but rather we're going to assume that they'll have the right kavanah l'shem mitzvah, and that's the opinion of Rav. Ki asu l'kame de Rav, the Yavam and the Yevamot came in front of Rav. Amar lahu, he would say to them, "Ibois chalotz, ibois yaimim." You have two options. You want to go for chalitza, want to go for yibum, that's fine. The doch tola mils rachmana, that means the Torah gave you the choice whether you want to be miyabim or you want to be cholitz. And it says in the pasuk in the parsha of Yibum, the lo yachpotza ish lakachas es yivimto v'cholza naalo me'al ragl. So we can be medayik from the pasuk that only if he's eino chafetz liyabim, then he's cholitz. Ha im chafetz, if he decides that he wants to be miyabim, he has two choices: iboy cholitz, iboy yabim. And not only that, but Rabbi Yehuda sover in kofin, we don't force him to give chalitza. And how do we see this? After chalitza, the chalutza receives what's called a shtar chalitza. And this was a takon of Rabbi Yehuda. He'd asking Rabbi Yehuda begita the chalitza. He made a takon that Beis Din should write a shtar in which they record the chalitza. And it starts with the words, b'mosav Beit Din. In other words, when these dayanim mentioned by name, they sat in the Moshe Bezdin, and they saw Echplonis bas Ploni Akrevas. She came closer, Yos, to Ploni Yevamot, or Yavam, Kodoma, Kodomana Levedina, in front of Bezdin, the Ishtamudinu, and we had testimony, the Achua de Misna Me'abedinu, that this is the paternal brother of the deceased, of this woman's husband. The Amrile, and we, Bezdin, said to him, Itzaves liyabim, if you have a rotzon to be miyabim, yabim. V'im lo, if you don't have that will to be miyabim, but rather you want to give chalitza, aitala la raglech diyamina. Stretch out your right leg, v'itla le rag, yeah. And after we asked him to do so, itla le raglech diyamina, he indicated his will to be chaletz. Stretched out his right leg. Visharas sene me'al ragloi, and she, the Yevama, loosened the straps around his shoe, and she pulled off his shoe. And then V'yarakas bin Boi, she spit in front of the Yavam. Ruka de mischazi lebeidina. It was a serious amount of rok, of spit, such that it was nikar, it was nira li'enei adayonim. They saw it al ara on the land, on the ground. Here, bar avya mesayim, he would add to the shtar mishmeid Rabbi Yehuda, based on what he heard from Rabbi Yehuda, that Bezdin should add something else to the shtar chalitza. What is that? Vakrinu madakasiv b'sefer raisa de Moshe. We read in front of the Yavam and the Yevamah, the Parsha of Yibum, as it's written in the Torah of Moshe. The Omra HaYevamah Achrinu, and the Yevamah said word for word after us, Mein Yevami lahakim le'achim shem b'Yisrael o aviyabni. And not only that, even the Yavam would respond, and he would say, Lo chafatzti lekachta. So since we see that Rabbi Yehuda in his Takana, when he wrote the Shtar, he offered in Ritzoncha liyabim yabim, that it's up to the discretion of the Yavam what he wants to choose, and we're not going to force him to do Chalitza. He could opt for Yibum. So the Gemara says, V'ishtadu moyin. How do they establish with Eidim that this is the Yavam? Pligi ba Rav Achbar Avina. Two opinions. Chad Amar, according to one opinion, Be'edim. We need two Eidim Ksherim to testify that we recognize that he is the brother, the paternal brother of the deceased. Chad Amar, according to another view, we don't need Eidim Ksherim. Afilu Kara. Even if witnesses are related relatives, which would normally disqualify their edus, vafilu isha, even the testimony of a woman that's normally not accepted in Bezdin, if she testifies that this is the brother of the deceased, will rely on her testimony. Vehilchasa, and the way we paskin is that we don't need edus ksheru to testify that this is the yavam, but rather giluye milse bialmehi. When we try to clarify this, it's not a technical halachic legal testimony. It's a gili milsa. Gili milsa means something that we can reveal. It's a reality. We're just trying to establish beyond shadow of a doubt the reality. Is therefore filu karav filu isha, even someone who's normally disqualified for it, this will be kosher for what we call gilui milsa bialm. Now, we mentioned earlier the Mishnah in Masechet Bechoros, Parishon Kshoyim Miskavnim L'Shem Mitzvah, Mitzvahs Yibum Kodemus Mitzvahs Chalut. Achshav Sheim Miskavnim B'Yibum L'Shem Mitzvah is Amru Chachamim She Mitzvahs Chalitza Kodemus Mitzvahs Yibum. Omar Rami Bar Chama Omar Rabbi Yitzchak Chazru Lomar Mitzvahs Yibum Kodemes Mitzvahs Chalitza. So according to Rami Bar Chama, they went back to the original minhag of Mitzvahs Yibum Kodemes Mitzvahs Chalitza. Amalei Rav Nachman Bar Yitzchak. And we could add the words Rami Bar Chama. What's going on over here? Shure Dare? Are you telling me that our generation is, relative to earlier generations, the kosher generation? We are on a high level? So Rami Bar Chama responds, no. The reasoning is not because now we have Kavanah L'Shem Mitzvah, but rather Meikara, the original psak, was that if he doesn't have Kavanah L'Shem Mitzvah, then Mitzvahs Chalitza Kodemes. Why? Because Savrila Ki Abashol. Abashol's of the opinion that you're not allowed to have Yibum if it's Shalol L'Shem Mitzvah, as we'll soon see. Ulabasof, at a later period of time, they overturned the original psak and Savrila Ki Rabbanan. They accepted the sheet of the Rabbanan of Abashol, who dissent against Abashol, and they hold that you don't need Kavanah L'Shem Mitzvah. You could be miyabim even without Kavanah L'Shem Mitzvah. Hisanya, we learned in the Brisa, Abashol Omer Hakones es Yevimto L'Shem Noi. He finds her very attractive. U'L'Shem Ishus. The Yamshel Shlomo says, Kidei shetia lo isha meshubedes lidvarim sha'isha osa lebayla. Ulishum davar acher, which is interpreted by many Rishonim as referring to Mammon. He wants to inherit his late brother. Is ki'ilu pogea be'erva. If there's no mitzvah, then there's no essay to be docha lotzas, and merely you're left with the lotzas, which is an erva veishis ach. The korvani b'yenai lios haflad mamzer. I don't know what korvelai b'yenai, but I think he means on a conceptual level, theoretically, the child should be a mamzer, because there was no heter of the Yisrael veishis ach, since there was no kiyum mitzvah. He was konsul l'shem davar acher. So it's like he's having a relationship with his brother's wife, which is an Isa Kares, and would generate mamzeres. V'chachamim omrim Yevamot yavo oleh mikol makom, which means that even if the Yavam has kavanah l'shem noi, etc., nevertheless he's allowed to be miyabed. So the Gemara now tries to clarify. We're going to quote now a Bryce. I'm going to try to figure out to which shita we can ascribe the Bryce. Yevama yavo lev mitzvah. Shabbat chila, because before his brother married her, hoisa olav bichlal heter. So before his brother, let's call him Reuven, was Mekadesh this Isha, as far as Shimon is concerned, or anyone else in the world, she's considered a heter. Anyone can marry her. But now, after Reuven married her, Nesra. The brothers of Reuven are now enjoined from her because of Eishes Ach. Oh, so now we went from Heter to Isra. Now the brother never died, leaving his wife widowed without any children. Chazar Hutra. Now through the mitzvah of Yibum, we go back to square one, which was Hutra. Yochel Tachzer Isha Lola Ter Rishon. Can we entertain this seriously, a possibility that just like before the Kiddushay Ochiv Hames, so too now she's muteres li naselo. Talmud Lama Yevamot Yavoleh mitzvah. Mantan. Amar Rabbi Yitzchak bar Avdimi Abba Sholdi Hachi Kama Yevamot Yavoleh L'Kachol L'Isha V'Yibma. The Yibma is coming to teach me l'shem mitzvah, and that means l'shem mitzvah's Yibum. Shebatchila, before he married her, Haisa Olav the Klal Heter Nesuin. Meaning anyone can marry. And therefore, Ratzal Shem Noi, Ratzal Shem Ichus Konsa. So all that is before Reuven, one of the brothers, married her. Nesra, now that he married her, now, as far as the other brothers are concerned, she has a status of an Erev of Eishes Ach. Is Chazra v'Hutra. Okay, so we're back to Heter now in the event of the catastrophic death of the brother without children. Yochel, I might think, Tachzer L'Tera Rishon, exactly as it were before his late brother married her, and she could marry him, and he could marry her, we'll say it that way, the Yavah could marry even L'Shem Noi or other kavanas, ulterior motives. Talmud Lomar, Yevamot Yavo Oleh Li Mitzvah. So this is Abba's show, that it's got to be a Bia L'Shem Mitzvah. The Yibum has to be L'Shem Mitzvah, not for Noi or any other Kavan. And without that L'Shem Kavanas Mitzvah, she's Asur Michum Ervas Eishes Ah. Rav Amar, you don't have to interpret this price of Dafka like Abba Shol, but rather Afilu Temer Rabbanon, who don't require Bia L'Shma, Kavana L'Shem Mitzvah, you could still reconcile their opinion with the Brisa. Don't interpret the word lemitzvah as la'akev, that it would be a barrier and prevent shemutal yabin. Chak l'shem kavonas mitzvah. Ella nefarish mitzvah to loshen hakdama. So l'chatchila mitzvah is to be magdim yibum l'chalitza, but nevertheless, in a situation where it's a mitzvah of yibum, that mitzvah can be fulfilled even with a kavan of shalol l'shem mitzvah. V'hachi ka'omar, and this is what the Tana had in mind. Yevamot yavo leha mitzvah. Shabbat chila v'hachi kamar Yevamot yovel le mitzvah. Shabbat chila isa b'chal het. Ratza konsa lo ratzena konsa. Now, after the kiddushin of his brother, then Nesra Olav Ishazu, the Isar Ashes Ach. And now this brother dies. Chazra v'hutra. What does that mean? Chazra v'hutra. Yachol taxa letera rishon. No, it says Ratza konsa, Ratza ena konsa. So what does this price mean? The Gemara says Ratza ena konsa. What does that mean? Ena Rotza konsa tinasi l'shuk below chalitza. Bagida Bay. I mean, she still has a Zika relationship. Says Kuka. So again, Ratza eno konsa ha'agida be. What does it mean? She can get married to anyone from the shuk without chalitza? Certainly, she needs chalitza. B'chdi tepuk. Tepuk means she can go out. She can go out free. B'chdi, without any maisa. Ella ema ratza konsa ratza cholitzla. Ratza konsa ratza cholitzla. Talmud Lomer Yevamot Yavo Aleha Mitzvah. And that means that mitzvah is even my default mitzvah is chalitza. Afim Eno Miskavim L'Shem Mitzvah. So Gemara wants to now prove from the language of the Brisa put Rava against Rabbi Yitzchak, Ema Reisha. In the Reisha, we're talking about the earliest time for Kriyat Shema Shel Arvis, and we're comparing it now to Ema Reisha again. I'm sorry. It says in the Brisa that there's a mitzvah incumbent upon Kohen to eat Shiari Mincha after Kmitza. So I think here, Matzos Te'ochel B'Makom Kadosh, this last sugya and the brisa about the Achilas Shiari Mincha on the part of the Kohen, I think we'll have to leave for tomorrow. Let's just make a note of where we get up to here on the bottom of Lamed Tes Beis, and tomorrow's Daf Mitzvah will be Daf Mem.